Hello, this is our Contacts for Jesus youth program for the new Ebenezer Cumberland Presbyterian Church. This is our message for the Wednesday, October 28th, 2020 date, and it's week 8, lesson 8 for our online message. The focus of our message this week changes. As we come together this week, our three youth lessons this week have in common the focus word of change or changes. You have probably heard an adult say something like, wow, things sure have changed, or talking about a person, they sure have changed, or times they are a changing, or maybe even change is inevitable. Yep, you've heard adults say things just like that. And as you look at those kind of things that they say, they're talking about sometimes people or places or things. And when you hear that, you begin to think and figure out for yourself that things just don't stay the same. They do change. You're finding out that you yourself are changing because you're outgrowing your shoes, your pants, your favorite outfit. You know that you're changing because you're getting taller, you're getting heavier, your hair is growing longer, the things you like or dislike are changing. You even find the way that you talk and the way that you think are changing as you get older. You are probably looking forward to things changing and being different in some things that are going on. Sometimes you might even maybe want things to just stay the same on some of the things. Just stay the way they are for just a little bit. The bottom line that we often find, though, is that everybody usually has to deal with change in some way or another, no matter how we live our lives. We just can't stop change. Now, you and I do our best most of the time to handle whatever comes our way and handle what life deals us. We try to handle change. And this kind of says we have to do things on our own a lot of times, or at least we think we do. But, that's just not true. There is someone that's available to us that can always be one we can call on to get help and that can make a difference. They can give us advice and help us in a variety of ways. There's someone that we can count on that will never change. He will be the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And who is that someone? That someone is God. He will always be there for you. He will love you and he'll watch over you when things are going good, and he will watch over you even when things are going bad. And he's going to be there even in the darkest of times, even when things are really, really tough. You can always count on God, even when can't always count on some people. So let's take a look at our three lessons this week and see what some of those people had to deal with in those lessons. In our first lesson for our younger group this week, we get a story about a young son who's not much older than some of you might be as you're listening today. And he thinks he's big enough to go out and go into the world on his own. He gets his part of his father's money, his inheritance, and he goes out and he intends to do things his way. He wants to see the world and he wants to party. He wants to have fun. Well, he soon finds himself out a long way from home, and he has no money, and he's having to live and eat what the pigs eat, live where the pigs live. It wasn't a great life as far as he was concerned. It wasn't the life he'd hoped for. So what does he do? Here's that word. He changes his mind and is sorry for leaving his father and disrespecting him. He asks to come home or thinks he needs to come home, and his loving father will welcome him back. And sure enough, when he asks his father does welcome him. Things changed a lot in a short time for this young man. His way of thinking really changed. Ask yourself, have you ever decided to do something that you really wanted to do and then changed your mind when you realized that you hadn't made the best decision? Someone in your family, if you don't make the best decision, may be able to help you out. And if they can't, remember, God, who doesn't change, is there to help you. In our second lesson, King David, that we've talked about all of our lessons so far, decides to do some things around his kingdom that need to be changed. And King David had a great palace, beautiful place. God's temple, though, was a place where people went to worship God. It's like our church is today. But God's place of worship in that day was only a tent. It was nice, but not very much like David's palace. King David wanted to change the house of God from a tent into a beautiful building where people could come and worship God in the way that David thought they ought to, in a great building. This was really a great idea that King David had, and except for the fact that David had been a man of war all his life, he would have been able to build that building, that temple for God. But because David was known as a man of war and he had blood on his hands, God would not let David build God's temple. But God told him that David would have a son that would soon be king, and that son would build the temple because that son, as king, would be a king of peace. In this story, it wasn't someone's mind like that young man of the first story that changed his mind, but rather it was the timing that changed, not the plan. David was still going to have a temple that would be built. It just wouldn't be him. It would be later. Have you made plans that sometimes get changed? Like you were going to go to a movie, maybe a party, maybe to a friend's house, or maybe a ball game. Maybe you were going shopping, or maybe it was something else. And you had to change the time, but you didn't change the plan. You still got to do what you wanted, but you had to change other things. Sometimes we get in a big hurry to grow up or to do something else. And sometimes that something that we want to do or we're intending to do isn't always the best choice. So here is a plan that you might find helpful. It's one I find that's awfully helpful. Here's the plan that you might try, and it's easy to remember. Here's the plan. 4 words. Think first, then act. If you think first and take your time, you can decide if you are thinking about doing something that is a good choice or not. Once you know if your choice is a good choice, then act, because you will have a good chance to do the right thing. Okay? In our third lesson, a student named Eric is looking forward to being on the winning team at the games that are held at the beginning of the school year. His old team from last year didn't win the year before, and Eric really wanted to be on a winning team. So Eric, in this new school year, has a choice to either stay on his old team or he can change and go to a new team where he thinks he might could win it all and come out a champion. Well, Eric decides to change teams. But turned out that Eric made the wrong choice when he decided to join the new team. He sees his old teammates working together to win the school games that year, and they take home first prize. Eric realizes that even if you think change is necessary, and maybe you think it's really important, you must be careful before taking the wrong actions. Again, you think first and then act. He learned while participating in the school games that change can have many different endings. Some you like, some you don't. So be careful when you think about change. You may get some unexpected consequences. Thank you for listening in today and hope to see you next week. We'll be on week 9, lesson 9. Have a great week and may God bless. Take care and be safe.